Where there's smoke, there's usually fire. But as interesting as smoke is, fire is just way better. Today we got actual fire on Switch 2 third-party games. So after all that talk of like, oh, they're going to be big on third parties at launch. Oh, a bunch of companies that weren't so big on Switch 1 at launch are going to be big on Switch 2. Oh, third-party support should be so much better given the increased hardware potential. Well, now we've got one that is backed up by two different sources, and it is super stealthy and super cool. So what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Hit that like button if you are pumped for massive games coming to your next Nintendo Switch console. It was crazy when Oblivion came to Switch. It was crazy when Doom came to Switch, but those were games that had been out for years. And even though it was nifty and novel, and the games are great, don't get me wrong, Nintendo fans, I think, deserve now better. Now that the Switch has proven to be a more than competent system, a phenomenal success, a huge seller, and just a great darn idea, let's bring the latest and greatest to the system. Nash Weedle comes through with a new leak, and Nash Weedle, I think, has been getting some credibility gains lately. He's been accurate about things that he really shouldn't have known much about, and as the leaker community gets sort of thinned out, he is managing to, at least thus far, stay ahead of the curve. Now, this is backed up by Necrophilippe, who I do really respect, and that is what has made me double down and make this video, because Necrophilippe straight up says I can back this up. And the leak is Assassin's Creed Shadows on Switch at launch. Boom, baby. That is huge. This is the Assassin's Creed game that is releasing in 2024, and it's the Assassin's Creed that most people have wanted since the series' inception. It is a Japan-based Assassin's Creed with shinobi and samurai. It's going to be a humongous hit, especially in a kind of dry holiday release season. And getting it on Switch for launch would be massive. Obviously, it still would already be out on PlayStation, Xbox, PC, but getting it in March or something, I can wait till then. I can wait a few months to play this open world epic on the go on my Switch 2 and see what third-party gaming is actually going to be like on a supercharged system. But Nash Weedle doesn't stop there, saying that he's heard ports of Assassin's Creed Mirage, Valhalla, Odyssey, and Origins will also arrive, and he's heard that Odyssey and Origins are going to be in a bundle. Now, that would make a lot of sense, and it would sort of line up with Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed plans from this generation, where they put a lot of old ACs on Switch. We got Black Flag, we got the Ezio collection, we got games that, were cool, but they weren't the newfangled greatness. And this is now allowing Ubisoft to do both. Let's be clear that Necrophilippe is only backing up the Assassin's Creed Shadows part, and currently is not saying anything on Mirage, Valhalla, Odyssey, Origins, but frankly, I'm going to be honest with you guys, the only one I really care about at this point is Assassin's Creed Shadows. Those other games, great, let's add them to the library, but to me, the point of Switch 2, besides obviously being a freaking 4K place to play Nintendo first-party titles, is to no longer be the back catalog port dump for other publishers. We want this system to be something that can easily and regularly and reliably get their new titles. There's no way Ubisoft was putting the new Assassin's Creed on Switch 1, but if they put this one on Switch 2, to me that means all their new games should go on Switch 2. To me this means the next Far Cry should go on Switch 2. To me this means the next Rainbow Six should go on Switch 2. To me this means the next Assassin's Creed after Shadows, which we know there's like that Witchcraft one, like that should be day and date. The only reason Ubisoft can't put Shadows out on Switch 2 day and date is because Nintendo Switch 2 won't be out the day that Assassin's Creed Shadows comes out. And this is interesting timing because this comes on the heels of us hearing that Nintendo is accelerating their plans to reveal the Switch 2. Brazil talking about, some presentations that were scheduled for late September have been bumped up to the next few weeks. And I think, as I've mentioned before, once the floodgates open, the information will really start to flow. Now, the other good part about this is, to me, this also really buoys the theory that Switch 2 will launch in early 2025. Nintendo getting it out there in Q1, or I guess early Q2, means that they can sort of borrow games from this past year, this current year, I guess now, holiday lineup. And then once they reach holiday 2025, then they can get all the new latest and greatest then as well. So it's like double dipping on holiday sweetness. And I don't think there would be leaks or discussion about Assassin's Creed Shadows hitting Switch if it was to come out like next November, right? Because then that's a full year off the game. Who knows? Maybe Ubisoft has another Assassin's Creed by that point. Sometimes they've annualized this franchise, sometimes they've not. I think that this is a further indicator that Nintendo is targeting, and then thereby publishers are targeting, an early 2025 launch, and they're planning their games around that. To me, that seems like the best case scenario for us as fans, and it seems like the smartest case scenario for Nintendo. I discussed in a video over the weekend how I just don't think holiday 2025 is beneficial to Nintendo in any way, and the fact that they've already delayed this system out of 2024, like, they've got to be ready. I can't see a world where they're not ready. The only reason to me they would save for 2025 holiday is if they thought that made better business sense and would lead to better sales, but I frankly don't think it will. Assassin's Creed Shadows, though, getting games of this caliber should really up the ante for the Switch. Everybody wanted a Switch for Mario, Zelda, and indies, but now if everybody can want a Switch too for Mario, Zelda, indies, and third-party games, how crazy is that going to be, and what kind of dynamic is that going to shift within the industry? Because here's what's crazy. PlayStation 5 and Xbox currently thrive on, yes, some of their exclusives, but this generation, there's been few and far between when it comes to true exclusives that are exciting. You got your Spider-Man 2s, you've got your Xbox is working on stuff like Perfect Dark and trying to get Fable out there. If you can play your big third-party games on Switch 2, how much of a need is there for PlayStation or Xbox? I'm talking about for individual consumers. Obviously, some people will prefer PlayStation because they really have to play Last of Us 3. Some people will prefer Xbox because they got to play Halo, and Game Pass seems like a great value. But you really, if you were like a big gamer, you really couldn't just have a Switch. You needed like a PC, a PlayStation, an Xbox to kind of make sure that you were able to capitalize on all the greatness that gaming has been putting out over the last 7 or 8 years. But if the Switch 2 is comparable enough where it can handsomely run Assassin's Creed Shadows, where it can get GTA 6 on the system, where it can take the next From Software Elden Ring 2 and have it perform perfectly fine, that is going to be a new game changer for the industry. It's going to make decisions more dynamic and difficult because now, in theory, you can own a Switch 2 and not need anything else. And I think it's pretty safe to say Nintendo has the best, strongest lineup of exclusives and franchises that they can only put on their system, especially now that PlayStation is dumping a lot of their things on PC as well. Could Switch 2 be the absolute best console investment across the board without any drawbacks? Yeah, maybe it doesn't have exactly the same power as these other systems, and maybe the performance isn't exactly as great, but if it can do enough, if it can work good on the TV and fine portably, and the controls feel good, if they can have improved sticks, non-drift Joy-Con, and buttons that actually feel good, triggers that work well for shooters, we could be really shifting the landscape after Nintendo has already shifted it so much. This would be another seismic shift where Nintendo asserts themselves as not just the cool portable system with the fun games from your childhood, but as like the system that's doing the most and providing the most. That would be game-changing and would help Nintendo rocket even further higher than they already have. And I think it would, really lead into a generation where, okay, Microsoft and Sony are targeting portable hybrid systems for their next console as well, because they got to now compete with Nintendo on a level where previously they owned these third-party multi-platform releases and they didn't have to worry about, you can play AC Shadows, you can play Call of Duty, and you can play GTA on Switch. That wasn't a thing Nintendo ever really had since the Super Nintendo era, and it would be stunning and stellar if they were able to reverse course and go back to something where they were the dominant platform in not just terms of sales and exclusives, but in terms of like third-party stuff too. I think this is very thrilling. I hope Assassin's Creed Shadows is good. I guess this kind of, dulls a lot of AC Shadows is a bummer, but it seems like the game is shaping up nicely. I assume Ubisoft is pouring tons of money and time into this one, given that it's not annualized right now, and given that people have wanted the Japan setting for eons. So fingers crossed AC Shadows delivers this holiday season, and then we get to play it on Switch shortly thereafter. Let me know if you would love to play Assassin's Creed Shadows on your Switch 2 in early 2025. And if you think this is just going to really shift the whole scene and setting for the major consoles when it comes to this new generation, this half generation where Switch 2 enters the fray late to the scene, but bringing a whole new dynamic. In the meantime, everybody, thanks so much for watching. I'll keep you posted on new drops in terms of third-party games that are getting leaked and or confirmed for Switch 2. Right now, though, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. And until next time, SwitchForce out.